This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Hello, welcome again to Midco Sports Magazine for February of 2020. And we got some hoops and some hockey and some golf all tied together in this episode. We will meet a high school hockey player in North Dakota doing whatever it takes to grow his game, including leaving his hometown and moving in with his grandma in Fargo. And we'll take a few swings and learn some things with educator and motivator Eric Henderson, who was a high school principal at one point in his career before becoming the head men's basketball coach now at South Dakota State. And we start with another Jackrabbit named Josh Cassaday, who played ball in Brookings about a decade or so ago. But the basketball court is a long way from where Cassaday is competing these days.
So my longest is 467 yards.
From baller to banker to big-time golf ball basher, Josh Cassaday has certainly taken a few leaps of faith in his 31 years.
You just kind of take those leaps and you hope you land on your feet. And I've been fortunate enough to take a couple leaps.
One of his first big life leaps was in 2007. He left Colorado, where he grew up, to attend school and play basketball at South Dakota State University.
Got a phone call from Coach Klink, and that connected me with Nagy, went up there for a visit, and just absolutely fell in love with Brookings.
He played 3 years for the Jacks on teams with the Callahan brothers and Clint Sargent and Dale Moss. And those were not easy seasons. SDSU was making the transition from Division II to Division I. Cassaday was fighting some injuries, and 3 years away from home was enough.
You don't want to leave all those guys behind. I mean, you have such a wonderful relationship with the players and the coaches and obviously the town. And so midway through my junior year is when it kind of crept into my mind that, maybe the grass is greener someplace else.
And that just happened to be back home. He transferred to Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, played 2 more years of basketball there, and got his degree.
I started working right in finance as soon as I graduated. Came home, got a really good job in Denver, great opportunity. And then I found my way into the personal finance side of things. Was a relationship manager for an investment firm in Denver. And that was fantastic. Got to play a lot of golf with a lot of wonderful clients, and that's where I really found the passion for golf.
And then he made the next big life leap. A work client pushed him to try and qualify for the World Long Drive Tour.
Just dove headfirst into it. Went to a regional qualifier that was out in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was called the Rockwell Blast. Almost punched my ticket for Worlds there. Made it to the finals of the regional. Just kind of had a bad set. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was, or any of that. And then flash forward a couple weeks later, I ended up qualifying for Worlds.
Cassaday finished top 16 in the world in 2017. And then he really hit it big in 2018 when he won his way through the field of 96 players and made it all the way to the semifinals at the World Championship. When he is not competing, Cassaday is still on the golf course at his other job. He is an entertainer for a fundraising organization called Charity Golf International.
I was a little timid to do all those trick shots. Of course, most courses there's a lot of houses. Of course, I don't want to break a window. So it took me a while to really fine-tune those trick shots, ones that I can actually pull off when people are behind me, judging me, making sure I hit the fairway. So it took me a little bit to get those down.
He says he actually embedded a golf ball in the siding of a house once on an errant shot. But for the most part, he's been able to use this as preparation to perform under pressure in competition.
Because you have to be on. You have to hit that shot shape on that fairway and hit that 35-yard fairway. So when you get onto a grid that's 70 yards across, like, oh, I just did a charity event where I was hitting the fairway at 25 yards across. This is easy. And so I try to use those events as practice opportunities.
He was a D1 basketball player at South Dakota State.
Comparing a World Long Drive event to professional wrestling is probably not entirely accurate, but
Josh Cassaday.
We don't have the volunteers holding up the quiet signs. We have loud music playing in the background. You got guys like myself that are literally yelling after golf balls when you do hit one flush, because there is so much adrenaline. You're so wound up and so excited to hit that little ball that it's incredible. You can't really explain the feeling.
Cassaday is 6.5 feet tall and works out like a madman. The ball he hits is a regular golf ball. The driver he swings is just a few inches longer than the one you or I would have in the bag. But there are major differences in the shaft and the loft of the club head.
I typically hit a 4-degree driver, and the shaft that I swing is right around a 4X. You know, it's 4 times stiffer than an extra stiff shaft. The longest drive in competition is like 529 yards. That's the longest ever. And typically you see guys, you know, if we're in Denver or if we're in Mesquite, guys will go 470, 485 yards. I think that was the longest a couple years ago. But it really just depends on the conditions and where you're at, elevation-wise and location-wise in the country.
Like most golfers, Cassaday is always tinkering with his technique. He and his coach are trying to build the most powerful swing for Josh's body type.
My power is generated through my upper body. We're working hard to get my lower body more engaged from the ground up, use that ground force a little bit more. But for me and just my natural swing, it's more from the waist up. And that's worked so far because I have those long arms that, you know, worked for basketball, and now it's working a little bit for golf, but there's always room for improvement.
So in a relatively short amount of time, Cassaday has become a golf celebrity, a well-known marketing commodity in the Denver area with endorsements and sponsorships from Athlon shoes and Tender Belly pork products. He has even been a clothing model for the Callaway brand. All in all, a pretty cool way for a competitive young man to make a living.
When my office is the 18th hole, looking at the mountains all day, you really can't beat it.
Well, Cassaday did make it to the World Championships in 2019. He made it through the round of 96 and the round of 54 and the round of 32. He got all the way to the match play round and knocked one out 390 yards, but he got eliminated by a guy that hit one 424 yards that day. Josh did end up ranked 13th in the world standings at the end of 2019, and he is getting ready for the 2020 season that starts in April. Up next, golf is a hobby, but teaching basketball and educating kids are the real passions for this South Dakota State head coach, who has a little different background than most mentors at the Division I level.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Midco Sports Magazine. To be a college basketball coach, you got to know the game. You got to be a motivator, maybe a little bit of a preacher, and it doesn't hurt to be a great teacher. And the coach in our next story truly has the mind and the heart of an educator. And he's one of the few guys that can list former high school principal on his resume. Are you a golfer, first of all?
I like to golf, but with 4 kids under 10, that gets a little hard, Tommy.
Well, you need to play, man.
I do like it. It frees your mind a little bit.
That is a swing, buddy. We thought it would be warmer today, but, you know.
We are in South Dakota, brother.
You from Iowa? Where?
Eastern Iowa.
Where's, Coggan?
Coggan, Iowa. I grew up about 20 minutes from Dyersville, Iowa.
Okay.
In a small town, probably about 5 miles to pavement. So I had a little plywood basketball hoop in the driveway.
Really?
That I felt like I was Michael Jordan most days.
Man, that is nice.
This place can make me look pretty good, Tom.
But you played for Coach McDermott
Yep.
at Wayne State. But he was pretty early in his career, right?
It was his first head coaching job. And so he was there 2 years before he recruited me, you know, just to play for a guy that, you know, with that character and how he treats people and the relationships that he has with his players was like, you know, I still go back to those days to, you know, to help me now. So I ended up getting out of college, coaching there for a couple years and stayed in Wayne and was a second grade teacher. And then the last year, the girls coach resigned and they were looking for a coach and like, Hendo, you want to do it? And I'm like, sure, what the heck, let's go. and you know, it was fun. We had a heck of a year that year. It was, you know, they were 7-17 the year before, and we didn't worry about anything. We just wanted to play really fast and shoot it before we turned it over.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun. We were kind of running and gunning, having some fun, and ended up 1 game away from state. And I still remember those days, man. It's pretty cool.
1 game away from state. What do you call it? 1 game away from state. 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 1 game away from state.
That's right at it, brother. Coach Mack wanted to know if I had any interest in being a grad assistant at Iowa State with him, and it just felt like it was the right time and a great opportunity to get back with a guy that I think so highly of and to learn more about coaching. And
You do your time at Iowa State. You get back out of the college game.
TJ obviously was an assistant at Iowa State when I was the GA, and my wife got pregnant, and so we were having our first kid, and the place where TJ coached before was it's a good basketball school and a great basketball league in Milwaukee, and he's like, Hendo, you should think about doing this. And so went to Catholic Central High School in Burlington, Wisconsin, the same place that TJ coached at, and was the AD, and honestly, it was a great time. It was fun. I learned a lot, and it was a cool experience. So my last 2 years, I ended up, being the principal and boys basketball coach, and it was fun. But with that deal, there became a lot of different things than just dealing with basketball and kids. And like I said, I'm an educator, so when you have to deal with some of that other stuff, it's not always as enjoyable.
North Dakota State is next. All right, how does this happen?
Well, it was interesting because, Dave was a grad assistant for Coach McDermott for one semester at Northern Iowa. And obviously Saul goes on to the University of Ohio, and Dave gets the head job at North Dakota State, and he's looking for a guy. And he was talking to Coach Mack, and Coach Mack goes, well, shoot, that sure sounds a lot like Hendo. I had known Dave a little bit from before, but didn't really know him that well. And he ended up calling me, and we just had some great conversations and had a lot of similar beliefs and the educational piece of it, to be honest with you, and how we approach things, and obviously ended up offering me the job, and had a great 2 years with him and learned a lot, and really appreciative of him, just giving me another opportunity to get back in the college game. And so had a great 2 years up there with Dave, and have a lot of respect for how he goes about things and runs his program.
So 2 years there, and then it circles back again to TJ Otzelberger.
Always had figured that once TJ got a head coaching job, that there'd be a chance that I'd coach with him again. Now, I didn't know it would be at one of North Dakota State's rivals in South Dakota State, but we just felt it was the right time and the right situation. And especially talking with TJ and the comfortability I had with South Dakota State, knew a lot about the program, how much they valued basketball, and so decided to come here, and certainly really excited how things turned out, and obviously happy for TJ and to be able to get the opportunity to be the head basketball coach. I understand how lucky I am and how special this spot it is.
You didn't take the path of, I'm going to be a grad assistant, I'm going to be an assistant somewhere, I'm going to rise, and I'm just going to keep going on the college coaching path.
Yeah.
There were some little steps sideways along the way, right?
There's a lot of different ways to get to where you're going to be, and my story is different than Coach McDermott's. My story is different than most, but that's what makes it special and unique. And at the end of the day, wherever I've been, like you said, it's about educating and helping influence young people, whether they're second graders, high school kids, or college kids. It's there's a lot of similarities to it, and to be able to help young men grow and not only become better basketball players, but whether it's becoming a better husband, a better father, or just growing up and maturing, to be able to help them with that process is something that I really enjoy.
And people believe you when you say it, because there are coaches, and we know there are, that don't believe it when they say those things. They say those things, but it's not truly there. But it is with you, isn't it?
I hope to believe so. I hope to believe so. As long as you're genuine and you show that you care about them, they're willing to listen and learn, and that's the beauty of it. And I'm just fortunate enough now that I get to continue to educate and still be so involved in the game that I'm truly passionate about and love. So I kind of got the best of both worlds right now.
We've got more Midco Mag to come. The story of a North Dakota high school hockey star with an out-of-the-ordinary living arrangement. But first, the history of hoops in this week's Just So You Know.
Ever wonder what the first game of basketball looked like? Here's a clue. Nothing like the one you're familiar with today. In 1891, James Naismith was asked to invent an indoor winter sport by his boss at the YMCA in Springfield, Massachusetts. He came up with a game that used a soccer ball involving 18 players and no dribbling. Those that showed up for the first game could only advance the ball by throwing it to one another. The court was pretty crowded, so in 1897, the starting five was introduced. Those five battled it out on the court, and in 1910, fouls were recorded. When the ball landed out of bounds, players would go after it and launch it down the court to see which team touched it first. Lots of injuries ensued, and the rule changed in 1913 to give it to the team who hadn't touched it last. That same year, cast iron rims were replaced by open-ended nets, and it wasn't until 1946 that the game extended past 30 minutes. Just so you know.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Our next story is about intergenerational relationships and the ever-increasing mobility of today's high school-age athletes. It's also a great story about a young hockey player and his grandmother. Jody Norstead shares the journey of one of North Dakota's most promising young players.
Drive. It's a word that has multiple definitions, and in Alex Semp's life, it plays multiple roles. As the straight-A student hops in his car after another day at Fargo-Shanley High School, he hits the road, a familiar spot that has helped define the drive within himself.
I got off the goal of playing Division I hockey, so I mean that's been my dream ever since I was little.
He knows that in order to accomplish that goal, he must prove that he can score goals, and he's done plenty of that this season. Senf leads Fargo South Shanley in that category, despite being only a sophomore.
I just feel like we got the right guys in the locker room this year. Everyone's just on the same page. We come to practice ready to work.
It's no surprise that Alex goes out of his way to credit his teammates, because he, more than many, can understand how much of a team effort it really takes. Whether it's grandparents,
from the time he started playing at 3 or 4 years old, I've been to pretty much every game.
Or his mom, dad, and sister, Alex has had big supporters from the beginning.
He was probably right around 2 years old. We were laying in bed and I was just channel surfing and we came across a Minnesota Wild game and he sat down and asked me, "Dad, what is that?" And I said, "Well, that's hockey." And he's like, "Dad, I think I'd like to play that."
We'd always go up at 5 in the morning. I'd always wake him up and we'd go up and skate. He'd be willing to do anything for my hockey career.
Their bond is strong, and it has to be for the journey Alex is on to fulfill his dream. Alex grew up in Valley City, a town without a varsity hockey program. So in 8th grade, he began commuting to Jamestown to begin his varsity career. A 35-minute drive to practice and play with kids 3 and 4 years older than him.
When he got asked to play for Jamestown, I basically sat him down right away and I said, I didn't think he was ever going to get a lot of varsity minutes. I thought he'd be a JV, maybe get in there a couple of times.
Kept telling myself, you could play with him, you could play with him. That's kind of been my attitude.
He liked to be with the older guys and, have the old, looked up to them. And
Alex ended up scoring 19 goals and helping Jamestown to its first state tournament berth in 5 years.
We got police escorted to state. It was a surreal feeling just to make it there first year.
Following that season, Alex was invited to the Select 15 USA Hockey Development Camp. When he came back, he was determined to continue taking his game to the next level, and his family was willing to do whatever they could to help.
We just decided, you know what, Shanley is 60 miles away. There's obviously better hockey in the east, so we just decided to move that. He'd be playing competitive hockey 26 games out of the year and still be within traveling distance with us.
Honestly, I didn't think too much of it right away until my parents were like, Alex, this could be a real thing. Like, do you want to do this? And I was like, heck yeah, anything to develop my game.
But there was still one more hurdle to clear. Who is Alex going to live with?
Marshall and Sarah approached me and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I can handle that.
Grandma Jackie to the rescue.
I had just retired, so it was a really good timing. And I just decided let him follow his dream.
She was a single parent, I was the only kid. So now it's kind of like she's raising me all over again.
She's been a big part of it too. When people ask, I just say like, yeah, I live with my grandma. She does a lot for me.
It's been a good fit for me too. He's so funny, he's easy to have around, and very helpful. Like in the winter, he helps shovel the snow and mows the grass. And
Alex made the transition to Shanley look as smooth as ice. Not only did he help the Bruins end a 4-year state tournament drought of their own, but he also finished second on the team in scoring. Not bad for a freshman, right, Coach?
I think you have to have a level of confidence in yourself, and you have to be careful not to be too confident because some of the seniors might not let you fit in at that point. So he had just enough confidence, but not too much.
It was, again, just a surreal feeling just going to state for 2nd year in a row, playing with a bunch of new guys. A lot of new guys I didn't really know, a couple of them I did, but it was just another great feeling getting there again.
Number 3, Alex Semple.
Now in his 2nd season with South Shanley, Alex has emerged as one of the state's top scoring threats and has the Bruins among the best teams. But he hasn't forgotten to carve out meaningful time with his roommate.
occasionally we'll sit together and we'll watch some Bachelor in Paradise. We actually watch every single episode.
My grandma always records and will let me know whenever I have time to come up and watch it, we'll be watching it together. So I kind of flaunt that. I like to say that I watch that. I mean, I just think it's a funny show.
And as his drive continues toward his dream, there doesn't appear to be a stop sign in sight.
I do think I will play Division I hockey. I just know I got the work ethic to do it. I'm not going to give up till I'm there. So I think it will be worth it one day.
And joined now by Jody Norstead, and a great story on a great player, Jode. And the living arrangement, though, it's definitely out of the ordinary. How is this working out for Alex and his grandma?
Well, the good thing for Alex was this wasn't actually the first time. He spent 3 summers living with his grandma because there are just more opportunities to get on the ice in the summer in Fargo than there would be in Valley City. Now, his parents admitted to me that it is tough long-distance parenting, but this second year now that they've been doing it, it's gotten a little bit easier, and they're happy to see him playing for the Bruins.
All right, looking forward to following him in the future. Thanks a lot. Jody Norstead.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.